Um, yeah, and then with obviously the COVID situation in Europe is really improved. Still obviously some issues, but Asia is still being hit very hard, particularly Vietnam, where you've got your factory. I just wondered how that lockdown the country went into that they're now sort of coming out of. I mean, there's still some still actually not really totally out of it, but I just wondered how that's played out for you and how that's impacted your operation there.
It's very important that we all remember that. I mean, especially Europe and obviously also US and other countries like New Zealand are in a very fortunate situation because the rest of the world is not anywhere near where we are. And you mentioned obviously Asia. And the plant we have in Vietnam has actually been closed since 11th of July. So our plant is in what you call the Long An province, which is southeast, I think, of Ho Chi Minh. And the government closed 3 or 4 areas down there completely in July, unless you could have they call it the 3 something principle that you had to
3TC they've been calling it, haven't they? This kind of
exactly. You had to work there, you had to eat there, and you had to sleep there. And it's quite evident for us that with this meat approval we have and so forth, it's not ethically okay to ask people to sleep on the plant, especially when you have different genders. So we took the decision to close down. Actually, we're forced to do it, sort of, because we had no choice. So we had actually people staying, the logistical team stayed on the plant for 2 weeks in order for us to get everything out that we secured, first the people, then the values that we had on the plant. So the whole cold storage now, both for finished goods and for raw material, is all raw material right now. And obviously that's quite critical. It's of course a lot of extra cost for us because we still decided to pay the staff somewhere between 60 and 70% of their normal gross salary, so they get the minimum salary. And we also have, I think, 35 containers sitting in the container port where we pay demurrage every day because there are no cold storages available. But it's sad for our good, loyal customers as well, because we are not able to deliver what we were supposed to deliver. There's a very, very good understanding, but of course it's frustrating for them as well. There are some good news, however, that they are starting to see most people vaccinated, and we have about 90% of our staff has now been vaccinated. So if everything, and this is knock on the wood and cross our fingers and legs and everything else, we will be starting up on October 1st at 30% level, and then we should be able to add another 20% every month. But it's all, again, we are negotiating with the authorities on the conditions and procedures and processes and everything else. So it has to be safe, obviously, and that's priority number 1. But it's been a big blow for us. So it's.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, have you managed to kind of shift any production elsewhere to contract plants in other countries or something, or have you just literally had to take the hit and not be able to do the business that you were?
We have done whatever we could out of Europe, but we have been extremely busy, and we have not been able to. I talked a bit earlier about shortage of people, so we have not been able to add sort of a lot of extra people to our operations, and there's only 7 days in a week, right?
Yeah.
So, but we have tried to do what we can out of Europe, but not even close to the full extent. So, when you close down on the 11th of July, if you should contract other plants in other parts of the world, you need to first buy your raw material, and then you need to send it out, and then you need to have people in place to be able to make sure that the quality and the products are exactly what they should be. And then you have to ship it. So we have until now believed that it's faster. We will get to it faster in Vietnam than we would have done it if we did outsource it. So, I cross my fingers for Friday this week.
Are you hoping that on October the 1st that you'll be able to kind of ship those 35 containers out, or start shipping them out as well, or will the ports be opening?
Everything's been shipped out.
Okay.
So we have no finished goods at all. But the 35 containers we have is actually incoming raw material. And that because there's no place in the cold storages. They are full for obvious reasons.
Okay.
So what we hope to do is obviously to get things going, and then we will start to export. In 2-3 weeks, we will have the first containers ready for export, and then hopefully we can then unload our raw material. But also then I guess when we start, everybody probably wants to get containers. So if we can get containers to get the goods out of Vietnam is a good question. And if we can get a room on a container vessel, I think we will try to hold on to the containers we have already in the port. But obviously that's not how it works.
Yeah, well, when we've spoken before about the, you've spoken about the kind of the likely hole in the kind of in the supply chain for whitefish, driven by these logistical issues, and you've just described, that very situation happening to the company there. But I just wondered whether you had a general idea of like how, big the hole in the market is going to be, or like, and when it's going to be felt, because obviously you've got this kind of long supply chain with frozen fish, where it's shipped from Norway or Russia to China or or Vietnam, processed, shipped back. So it's actually kind of a long time before these things tend to hit the market. And I just wondered, like, when you think that will be, and how serious an issue it will be as well.
It's impossible to judge. I think. I mean, there is a very strong demand, and that is probably the whole. I haven't looked into the import-export data sort of in the last months or so I can't really give you a firm answer. I know that the US is screaming for product, and that's a hole in the market, you can say. So I guess everybody out there is on allocation with their customers. But unfortunately, there's not so much you can do. I mean, we have raw material enough. We could sell more, a lot more, but we can't really get it through our operations.